What up, guys? Cordy, aka Corlax, back with some more Throne and Liberty for you. So just recently, I put out a video for the best armor sets for tanks for Tier 2, and well, my favorite weapon in this game is the Greatsword, so it only made sense to do a video for the best Greatswords coming to Tier 2. Now, if you don't know me, I made a ton of build guides for Tier 1. I've had a total blast in the game and a lot of success. I was able to get ranked for Arena, ranked for Dimensional Trials, and I just love doing build guides and giving you guys the best information I can so that you can go out there and kick some ass and have a blast as well. That being said, we're going to be using Questlog for this video. Major shout out to Questlog. If you are into theory crafting or if you need to see any of the future items coming, they have everything up there. I'll leave a link in the description. I highly recommend you check it out and do some theory crafting. So that being said, let's get this Swordzilla party started with number 1 out of 7 of the new great swords coming to Tier 2 with no other than the Battlefield Warriors Broadsword. So this will be a really easy weapon to get. It's just going to come from the open world dungeons, meaning you can just burn up your abyssal tokens. Should be able to get this pretty easily, which means it also should be pretty cheap on the auction house if you're having some bad RNG. Now, this weapon is going to give us strength, max HP, and stun chance. Pretty basic and straightforward. I don't think stun resistance is going to be a big meta, but if it is, you can bet that stun chance will be huge, and anything like stunning blow, abyssal cleave, any builds with stun, this is obviously going to be helpful for. And strength is just a no-brainer for like Templars, all kinds of builds, and HP. So this is a pretty well-rounded weapon, and if you get this early on, this could be a great weapon to start out with. Now, moving on to number 2 out of 7 for this meme cleaver party, we are going to go on to the Black Anvil Giant Sword. Now, these are really interesting weapons coming to Tier 2 that are just specifically for farming. If you look closely at this weapon, you'll see it has no stats, right? However, it's just not going to really matter because you really shouldn't need those stats ideally for open world farming. But if you see, it gives us this Black Anvil Passion, which is awesome. It increases our Solent bonus and our Weapon Mastery XP bonus by 50%. So this weapon is specifically for farming. So ideally, hopefully you can pick it up really quickly. Looks like you're going to be able to get it from the selection chest. So ideally, should be a pretty easy weapon to get. And it's going to be specifically just for farming. No matter what build you're playing, you are going to have this in your arsenal for farming no matter what. Now, let's get things a little more interesting with number 3 out of 7 of the Yeet Sabers here with the Immortal Titanic Quakeblade. Now, this is a super interesting looking weapon, and if you notice, a lot of Great Sword and Crusader players are using this weapon in their theory crafting. Big players like Cannon, a lot of the top people are using this weapon. Now, let's take a look at the ability, the Judgment Wave. This is changing our Gaia Crash so that instead of it moving in a straight line, it's now going to attack the same location 4 times in a row. When I think of this weapon, all I can think of is that the player is going to need to be bound or stunned or something for that to work, right? If they can move, they're just going to immediately get out of the Judgment Wave and it's not going to work. So stun chance, anything like that. Abyssal Cleave, any way to get the player CC'd or immobilized for this ability to hit is going to be huge. And if you look at the stats on this weapon, they are phenomenal. So it's just a no-brainer why people are using this. It has a ton of strength on it. Hit chance, which is huge. You're not doing any damage in this game if you're not hitting your opponents. Hit chance is going to be huge. You're going to need a decent amount of it because evasion goes up so high in Tier 2. You're going to need hit chance. At least a stable threshold, right? At least a baseline level of hit chance. And the other thing about this weapon that I really want to notate here is it's the only great sword that does not come from an arc boss weapon that has collision chance. Collision chance is huge if you're playing like Crusader and you need to hit your chains and your rushes, etc. You need collision chance. This is absolutely going to be a weapon that I personally am going to use and I'm going to pick up. I think this is going to be one of the best options for Crusaders without a doubt. And that being said, easily obtainable weapon through open world dungeons with abyssal tokens. The Phantom Killer, Eccentric Gorman, and the Monstrous Wrath will drop these. So ideally, hopefully it should be pretty easy to get, and again, not too expensive on the auction house, and it should be relatively easier to get. Number 4 out of 7 of the Spinal Dividers is going to be the Celestial Cyclone Warblade. So another really interesting new weapon coming to Tier 2 with a really interesting ability, the Blazing Tornado. Now, you don't see a lot of people using Tornado in PvP, at least I personally have not. It's not an ability that is in the meta. However, people do use it for farming a lot. I think with this new weapon, you're going to start seeing Tornado come in to PvP, and that's going to be awesome seeing the meta shift, right? So this ability increases your devastating Tornado's attack speed and your movement speed while you're using it. So you're just going to be, can you say D2 Barbarian? Say it with me. Spin to win. So this is just going to be a really fun weapon, and it applies the serial fire bombs effect. So it's just going to take your Tornado and just make it go way higher in damage, and ideally it looks like this weapon is aiming to make Tornado a viable PvP skill, in my opinion. And again, it has really interesting stats. No strength, but it does have wisdom and perception. It would be really great for like Templar builds, or if you need some more wisdom in your build, etc. This is going to be a great option. I personally cannot wait to try this weapon out, and again, I will be trying this with all types of different builds, different weapons, and see what kind of combinations I can make with it. Again, another relatively easy weapon to get. This one just comes from NPCs. You can see the list here, all kinds of enemies it drops from. Hopefully this is pretty cheap on the auction house, or ideally just really easy to obtain. Number 5 for the Chonk Cleavers, the Grayeye's Destructive Bloodsword. DaVinci's Courage is a huge ability in this game. It's massive. It increases your attack speed and your health regen. It's one of the best buffs in the game, flat, hands down. I use DaVinci's for Arena all the time. I always keep it on my bar. This weapon comes with Grayeye's Vitality. On using DaVinci's Courage, health regen effect disappears. So no more health regen, but instead our base damage increases by 16%. Massive. So this sword is going to make you just hit so much harder. Ideally, you would like to have someone in your static running this, because DaVinci's Courage affects your whole party, which means your whole party is going to get a damage boost from somebody running this weapon, okay? So ideally, someone in your static should have this. Now, another interesting thing about this weapon, more strength and HP, pretty straightforward. However, this weapon has cooldown speed. Huge for like Templars that are healing or doing CCs, buffing, etc. Cooldown speed is going to be really interesting to watch in Tier 2, and it looks like this is going to be obtainable from boxes or bags. Might not be as easy to obtain this weapon, but it looks like it's going to be really worth it to pick up for that modification on DaVinci's Courage. It just looks huge. Now, I saved my favorite 2 overcompensators for last. Both of these weapons come from new bosses. One comes from the new field boss, and that is going to be no other than from Pakilu. This is Pakilu Naru's Frenzy Sword. I personally can't wait to get my hands on this weapon. I want this weapon so bad, not just for the ability that's going to change our Cruel Smite and Valiant Brawl to have more damage, but look at the stats on this weapon. No other Greatswords in the game come with 3 different stats, so I think you're going to see a lot of people fighting over this. I think it's going to be really expensive on the auction house. Again, it comes from a field boss, so you can bet it's going to be pretty expensive for probably the first couple weeks of the game, and it's going to be a high sought out after item, okay? Simply because it gives dexterity, wisdom, and strength. This sword is going to make it so much easier for every build to hit those milestone stat points, so you can bet people are going to be after this weapon without a doubt. And you can see here, it comes from the new field boss, Pakilu. So keep your eyes out for this one. Without a doubt, if you can get your hands on this, you're going to be in a great boat. Awesome sword without a doubt. Definitely one of the best weapons coming to T2 without a doubt. Save the best for last, aka Lord Chompington, aka the Cling of Destiny, aka the Doom Spoon, no other than Giant Cordy's Corruption Sword. I would love to get this weapon. I hope I get this weapon. I don't feel very likely that I'm going to get this weapon. If you can get Giant Cordy's, this is ideally, in my opinion, the best Greatsword in the game, simply because of the massive damage on the weapon, but also because of the ability, right? And Tier 2 evasion gets so high, especially with dagger players, that the ability on Giant Cordy's Spore Poison makes it so that your Death Blow creates an AoE ability, this poison cloud that reduces enemy evasion. Anyone who's running this is going to have such a huge advantage over evasion builds. It's just going to be a phenomenal weapon without a doubt. The damage is super high. It's reducing evasion. This is going to be a phenomenal PvP weapon without a doubt. You can bet on it. So it's going to be crazy expensive on the auction house. It's just going to be so good. Plus, it just looks aesthetically amazing. The sword looks so damn cool, and it comes with phenomenal stats, perception, strength, and hit chance. Arguably the best PvP stats. It's going to help you hit opponents better. You're going to get more defense and HP out of it, and higher hit chance. No brainer, in my opinion, the best PvP sword, Greatsword, excuse me, in the game, without a doubt. So that covers all the new Greatsword, guys. I hope you're as pumped as I am for Talandre. Gonna be making a ton of videos for you guys, giving you the best info I can. Just gonna go out there and have a total blast. I hope you guys are enjoying the game as much as I am. Keep in mind, I'm gonna do that $50 Steam gift card giveaway at 2K subs, and we're getting so close. Really looking forward to doing that. Thank you so much for your time and support. If you learned something, if you disagreed with something, leave me a like, a comment, anything. I do my best to respond to everybody. Thanks so much for your time, you guys. I hope you're all healthy and well, and I will see you out there in Talandre.